Today I'm going to tell you the story about how when I was 4 years old and I went to a Cardinals game, I threw a baseball onto the field and almost hit the back of the head of the Cardinals third base coach, Jose Oquendo. So a little backstory for you. So some of my family members have worked for Anheuser-Busch their entire lives and worked their way up the company ladder and became high executives to where we got really good seats for sporting events. So when I was 4 years old, my uncle got us seats on the first row right on the dugout of the Cardinals, so right on the third base line. And so I don't know if you've ever been to a baseball game before, but whenever the players run off the field, sometimes they like to throw a ball into the stands. And so when you're 4 years old like me and your uncles and people think you're a cute kid, your uncles tend to use you as a prop for a baseball player to throw you a baseball. And so since we were sitting on the front row right on the dugout, we had an advantage over everybody else because our seats were closest to the players coming off to the field. So earlier in the game, I had already got a ball from a Cardinals player. So my uncles had picked me up, they put me up in the air, they waved me around, I had my glove, and somebody tossed me a ball, and I caught it. So as the game was going on, and I kind of forget this part, because I was so young, but I vividly remember this because my family loves to tell the story at parties, and it's pretty funny, and it's just a great story to tell. But later in the game, I forget what inning it was, but the Cardinals were coming off the field. And so like we'd always done, we stood up, put me up, shook me around, and as a Cardinals player came off the field, I don't even know who it was, he flipped the ball to me, and not even thinking, and later I was trying to explain it to my uncles, not even thinking, I grabbed the ball, and in one motion, I whipped it back onto the field, right onto the field. And I wasn't even really paying attention to what was going on because I was 4 years old, and the ball just whistled right by the head of the Cardinals third base coach, Jose Oquendo. And, normally when stuff gets thrown onto the field, it's a pretty big deal, and the security guards and everyone's looking at who was doing it, and all eyes in the Busch Stadium was glued to the dugout to where we all were sitting. And my uncles and my grandfather that was at the game, they love to say that, I made them so embarrassed and humiliated because everyone was staring at them because no one would think that a 4-year-old kid would throw a ball onto the field. And I almost hit the back of the head of the Cardinals third base coach, so it was almost pretty serious, but luckily I just barely missed. And my uncles love to say how when they were at the game and all of a sudden I threw the ball onto the field, that they just see the ball just kind of in slow motion just scoot right by Jose Oquendo's head, and everybody was staring. And as my uncles tell it, it was just super embarrassing and super humiliating because everybody was staring right at us because everyone wanted to know what happened. The baseball got thrown onto the field. That doesn't normally happen. And everyone was looking around to see, if it was someone that was like actually trying to hit a Cardinals player, and kind of what was going on. If it was some older guy kind of trying to cause some trouble. And eventually the ball got returned to us, and my uncles, I would imagine, apologized profusely. And that was the last time that they picked me up and shook me around for a baseball. And that was the last time a Cardinals player was going to throw me a baseball, because the last time that they did it, I threw it back onto the field and almost knocked out the third base coach. So after the game, my uncles were asking me, hey, what were you thinking? Why would you throw a ball back onto the field like that? And I always just said, I don't know. I just thought they were going to run out of balls. I just thought that they needed that baseball. And so that's the only explanation I can say for throwing a baseball back onto the field. And I've been to a lot of baseball games growing up, and I've never once seen anybody throw a ball back onto the field like I did, right over the dugout. And I think that since it happened in 2000, 2001, and that was really before social media took off and all this, I really think that if this had happened this year or a couple years ago, like when Twitter and Instagram were really popular, I definitely think that I would have gone viral on Twitter or Instagram as the kid that threw the ball back onto the field. And I did some research and I looked up, kid throwing ball back on the field, and there have been some videos on MLB.com and stuff about people, young kids throwing the ball back onto the field. So definitely an adventure, for me and my uncles. And I think that was the last time they took me to a baseball game and we got to sit right on the dugout. But I got 2 balls, I got my ball back, and it was just an incredible story that I get to tell now. And I hope you guys enjoyed listening to it.